And she says, Madua boshesh lichbo lavo. Why is his chariot late? Madua iharu pa'amim markibotav. Why is he delayed? It seems after every war, he would come home the same time. So she knows, once they announce on the radio, the war is over, he comes home an hour after. Here, an hour passed, he doesn't show up. 2 hours, doesn't show up. So she started to get concerned, where is he? So she's looking at the window. All of a sudden, she takes out an eshnab. Eshnab is a crystal ball. She knew how to read the future in the crystal ball. And she's looking in the crystal ball, and all of a sudden she sees 2 women in the crystal ball. So she comes along and says, now I know where he is. Racham rachamatayim lerosh gever. You'll forgive me. But he's probably taking advantage of the Jewish woman. After all, he won the war. So he's probably taking advantage. Racham rachamatayim. He's taking advantage of these Jewish girls. He's involved in immorality. Could you imagine? She's proud of that. That's his mother. Where do you think he came from? She said, from a corrupt mother. She's proud that his son is doing this type of perversion. All of a sudden she looks more. She sees red. In the crystal ball, it's red. She says, Shelal Seba'im L'Sisera. Shelal Seba'im Rikma. Seba Rikmatayim L'Safere Shalal. He's probably taking all the beautiful clothes of the Jewish people, all the red, colorful clothes that the Jewish women had, all their scarves, all their headdresses, all the different accessories, all the red, beautiful clothing, the picturesque garments. That's where he is. He's taking all this stuff. That's why he's delayed. She puts the crystal ball on the side and she's waiting. No sisera, no parade, no hero, no sign of her son. And all of a sudden the pasuk writes, "Vatiyavev em sisera." Vatiyavev, yebaba. What does it mean, vatiyavev? So the Hachamim say she started to cry. She started to cry. And as she's crying, because she doesn't know where her son is, she says, oh, he's probably celebrating in one of those bars over there. You know, he went for a beer. He went to get drunk. Maybe he went out with the boys. They're making a victory party. But she's crying and she's crying. And Sisera doesn't show up, but and she's crying, and she's continuing, and she's sobbing. And finally, we don't know after how long, the mother of Sisera comes to the conclusion that Sisera is dead. And the Navi ends and says, Ken yovdu kol oivecha Hashem. Let all God's enemies be destroyed and perish like Sisera. But at least, now you know the story, but at least we learned a Hebrew word. Add this into your vocabulary. The word vatiyavev means to cry. So therefore the word yebaba means to cry, and therefore tiru'ah is a crying sound. So that's how we learned that when you blow the shofar, you're supposed to blow it in a way that a person cries. Yom tiru'ah, yom yebaba, a day of crying through the shofar. Now the Gemara has a big question. Well, how do people cry? There's another discussion. So the Gemara says basically people cry in 3 different ways. Some people, they cry like this. Boo, hoo, hoo. So the rabbi said, that's shivarim. So you have to go, tu, tu, tu. That's called ganuhe ganah. That's a long crying. Other people, they cry quickly. Boo, hoo, 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 hoo. That's, we call that teruah. Tu, 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 tu. Or some do, 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 do. And then the Gemara says, some people do both. They cry like this. Boo, hoo, 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 hoo. That's shivarim teruah. So we do everything. We take insurance because we don't know which is the real way to cry. So we cry shivarim teruah, shivarim teruah. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I came tonight to ask you the $1 million question. The source of where we learn shofar from is from the mother of Sisera, Goya, Marsha'at, wicked woman, the mother of the anti-Semite. Could you find a more inappropriate place to learn the shofar from? The shofar that we blow on Rosh Hashana, you would think we would learn it from the tzaddikim. Tell me Rachel Imenu cried, Sarah Imenu cried. No, the source of Yebaba, which is Teruah, is the mother of Sisera. And this bothered me so much. What zichut? This lady. Go ask your rabbi, what's the source of shofar? He's going to tell you that the mother of Sisera. Ask him, how can it be? Such a holy mitzvah of shofar, and the source of Yebaba is V'tiyabeb. This question I pondered for a long time. Tonight I'd like to present my final answer. I think it's a very practical lesson. You see, I don't know if they have it in Mexico, but in America we have an organization for alcoholics. Those are people that drink too much. So eventually they need help. They need intervention. And there's an organization that intercedes, and they come to a meeting, and they have to go through 12 steps. These are called the 12 steps to recovery. And it's one step at a time. After they get to step 12, usually they're recovered. And then they graduate. And then hopefully they don't relapse. Now, thank God I was never at a meeting, but unfortunately I know people in the community that were there. So I asked them, what's step 1? And they all told me step 1 is the hardest of all the steps. Step 1 is you have to say in front of all the people that are there, my name is Mr. Flan Flan. I am an alcoholic. You first have to admit, I am guilty. I am an alcoholic. Then they say, Hazak Baruch, step 1, check. Now we can move on. So I said, but that's so easy. What is he there for? Of course, that's the easiest part. He said, you'd be surprised. It's so difficult for the people to admit that they have a problem. So how does it go? They go around the table. The guy says, what are you doing here? My wife brought me here. Why are you here? I don't know why. I want to make my wife happy. She brought me, I'm here. Do you have a problem? She has a problem. I don't have any problem. Do you drink? Yes, I drink, but it's under control. I have a drink here, drink there. So why do you stay here? You know something? I don't even know why I'm staying here. I'm coming for one meeting, then I'm going to leave. Next guy, what are you doing here? No idea why I'm here. I have no idea. The third guy, what's your purpose? What are you doing here? Deny it. I have no problems. I don't know. I came to help the other people. Until you get maybe 1 out of 20 to say, I'm guilty. They say, you're guilty? Baruch haba, you're the guy we can deal with. You we can help. The other 10 guys that are still giving excuses, when you finally come to reality and you're willing to take responsibility for your actions, then we'll help you. So it seems that that's human nature. It's difficult for human beings to admit that they have a problem. It's difficult for people to admit that they're wrong and that they're guilty. Say it very simple. It's hard for people to take responsibility for their actions. If that happens to you sometimes, you're normal. The nature of human beings is to blame others. See, we point. The reason why I have a problem, it's my parents' fault. The way they raised me. It's my teacher's fault in the school. It's the society's fault. Everybody's doing it. Human beings are very protective of themselves. So the brain wants to protect the person from being hurt. And when a person comes along and says, hatati, it's crushing. It's crushing. So the brain creates all sorts of manipulations and all sorts of excuses to defend the person, so we shouldn't have to admit, I am wrong, I am guilty. We call that excuses. Human beings are experts at shifting the blame. Well, I'll give you a simple example. You know this example from Tanakh. But I have 2 other examples that are tremendous. This is an easy one. I'm only bringing you this example because I'm showing you, even if you're a great man, it's not easy to admit. There was a king called Shaul HaMelech. So the prophet Shemuel told Shaul, go to war. I want you to kill all Amalek, men, women, and children, and the animals, everything. Shaul goes, he kills the men, the women, and the children, but he brings back the animals. Shemuel and Nabi sees the animals, he hears the animals. He tells them, Umeh kol hatzon. What is this son? I hear the sheep. Umeh, I hear the baying of the sheep. So Shaul says, what do you mean? I brought them from Amalek. We're going to bring korbanot to God. So Shemuel tells him, what do you mean korbanot? I told you to kill the animals. No, I fulfilled the word of God. I'll say again, the animal was supposed to die. You're rebellious. I listened to the people. They wanted to bring it. Excuses and excuses. And finally, after the 3rd time, what does Shaul say? Hatati. Shemuel says, too late. You're fired. Look how long it took Shaul to say Hatati. It's not easy. It's not easy to admit that you were wrong, that you made a mistake. By the way, David HaMelech also made a mistake in his life. The prophet came to him and said, David, you have a problem with this lady called Bathsheba. What's the first word David says? Hatati. What does the prophet tell him? V'sar avoncha v'hatatcha techupar. You're forgiven. I'm not fired. No, you're not fired. But you fired Shaul because it took him time. You said Hatati right away. Umodeh ve'ozev yiruham. So learn a lesson. Those that are able to confess and admit, they move on. Those that live in fantasy world, in a denial, and they just come along and live a life of a lie. So they only get themselves in deeper trouble. And they only lose status. Now let's go to the Chumash. Let's go to the Chumash, page 1. Cain kills Hevel. Now there's only 4 people in the world. Adam, Hava, Cain, and Hevel. So this was the greatest homicide in history, per capita. Meaning, he killed one person, but that's 1/4 of the world population. A terrible crime. He killed his brother in cold blood. So what happens? God comes to Hevel, God comes to Cain. Vayomer Hashem el Cain. Where's your brother? Everybody knows the answer. Vayomer lo yadati. I don't know. Fantastic. Fantastic. Hashomer achi anochi. Am I my brother's keeper? That's the way we always learned it in school. Why are you asking me? Am I his babysitter? He's my younger brother, but I'm not his babysitter. I don't know where he is. What are you asking me for? He's somewhere. I don't know where he is. That's the way we learned it in school. Until recently, I started to open up the books. The Midrash brings the following mashal to explain Cain's answer. There was one time a thief, Ganav. He broke into a neighborhood. This neighborhood had a guard in front of the neighborhood, a security guard. He broke through the neighborhood, he broke into the house, and he got caught. So they brought the Ganav to the court. So they asked the Ganav, what do you have to say for yourself? So he said, it's not my fault. Listen, I'm a Ganav. I was doing my job. That's what I do. I steal. It's the security guard's fault. He didn't do his job. What are you blaming me for? If the security job would have did his job, I couldn't have done my job. He's to blame. That's what the Midrash writes. That the Ganav blames the security guard. Rabotai, listen to what happened over here. You know what Cain was supposed to tell God when God said, where is your brother? Cain should have said one word. Hatati. You know what would have happened? God would have said, beautiful answer. That's the right answer. Hatati will deal with you. Instead, Cain has to blame somebody. But he's not going to blame himself. Now he has a problem. Because if he's not going to blame himself, you see, I can blame 15 billion people in the world today for my problems. I have 15 billion people to blame. Cain, well, he doesn't want to blame himself. You can't blame Hevel because he's dead. And he can't blame his parents because they have their own problems. They just got kicked out of Gan Eden for eating from the tree. So they're dealing with their own thing. So who's left? There's only one person. There's only one entity left. There's no Cain, there's no Hevel, there's no Adam, there's no Chava. So you know whose fault it must be? Cain comes and says to God, Hashomer achi, you know whose fault it is? God, you're the shomer. You're the security God of the world. You didn't do your job. Hashomer achi, you know who the protector of my brother is? Anochi Hashem Elohecha. What do you want from me? Brothers fight. You're the referee. You didn't do your job. If Hevel got killed, it's your fault. Hashomer achi, the protector of my brother, is Anochi. It's Anochi Hashem. It's you. Could you imagine that? That a person will go to such extremes to defend himself from admitting guilt that he'll even go to the extent to blame God. You know, the Zohar HaKadosh writes, if you look at the Ten Commandments, there's 5 on one side and 5 on the other side. I know that you read them going down. You read them vertical. But do me a favor for a second. Read the Aseret Deberot horizontal. What's the first Aseret Deberot on the right side? Anochi. Go horizontal. What does it say on the left side? Lo tirtzach. The Torah is hinting that the first lo tirtzach was blamed to Anochi. Anochi lo tirtzach. The first murder in history, God says, they blamed me for it. They couldn't admit guilt. Well, I have a theory. I know this is not a parenting class. Maybe we should come back and give a parenting class one day. But the theory is that children learn their bad behavior from one of two places. Either they learn it on the school bus, or they learn it from their parents. Adam HaRishon eats from the tree. It's Adam and Hava and God and the snake. That's it. So God comes to Adam HaRishon and he tells him, did you eat? Did you eat from the tree? You know what Adam was supposed to say? Hatati. I ate. And then it would have went away. I mean, it wouldn't have went away, but it would have went away quicker. He should have said, I am an alcoholic. Well, step 1, finished. Let's move up to step 2. Instead, Vayomer Adam, Ha'isha asher natata imadi. Classic. Blames it on his wife. It's my wife's fault. Ha'isha asher natata li. So who does he blame here? He actually blames 2 people. Ha'isha asher natata li. That you gave me. So Adam HaRishon, incredible. He was able to shift the blame over here 2 ways. He said, listen, the ladies gave me from the apple, whatever you want, etrog, to eat. So it's her fault. And by the way, who gave me the lady? So I don't know what you want from me. You have to deal with the Isha. This is your issue. This is not my issue. So it seems this was hereditary. Cain learned it from Adam, his father. Well, listen to what God tells Adam. You know something? I'm reading this Derasha for 50 years, and I just noticed this. When God tells Adam about his punishment, so it says, Ul Adam Amar. So God says to Adam, Ki shamata lekol eshtecha, because you listened to your wife, arura ha'adama ba'burecha, you're going to be cursed. Is that why he's cursed? I thought he's cursed because he ate from the tree. If I was writing this pasuk, I would say, Uladam amar, biglal sha'achalta arura. But it doesn't say that. It says, Ki shama'ta lekol eshtecha. That wasn't the sin. The sin wasn't that he listened to his wife. The sin was that he ate. You know what the explanation is? God said, because you blamed your wife, now you're going to get punished. If you would have owned it, and you would have had the responsibility to say that it was you, you wouldn't have been cursed. That's the biggest sin. To me, this is incredible. The sin of eating is big, but the biggest sin, God says, is that you pointed fingers. That's why you're going to get punished. You know, the Navi says, Hineni nishpat otach al omrech lo hatati. God says to the prophet, you know why I judge you? Not because you sinned. I punish you because when I confronted you, you know what your reaction was? Lo hatati. I did not sin. God says, that gets me angry. Imagine a person making vidui. Lo hatati, lo aviti, lo pashati, lo ganavti, lo gazalti, lo tibalti, lo lashon. He adds a law before each one. By the way, that's most people. When they make the vidui, they're saying, I didn't do any of these things. They're looking at the guy next to them. This guy, I'm making the vidui for him. And even if they did it, they answer it up. Everybody's doing it. It's the problem of our generation. People eat not kosher. Say, well, we know the Torah says it, but that's the custom. Everybody does it. All my friends do it. So therefore, they think that that's going to be an answer. Instead of saying, I'm wrong. I'm an alcoholic. I don't have to go through the whole Torah. You know the 613 mitzvot. I didn't come over here to Shabbat, Tzniut. I'm not going to go through the whole list. Everybody knows what the list is. But most people live in the world of lo hatati. And they have a long list of who's to blame for all their inadequacies, for all their deficiencies. There's a word in the Hebrew language. This word usually introduces an excuse. Anytime you want to give an excuse in Hebrew, you'll always use this word first. The word is aval. Aval is but or however. I used it all the time when I was in school. When the teacher would ask me, did you do your homework? Well, I can't deny it because she's going to check it. So I say, dear teacher, I did not do my homework. Aval. You know, the dog ate it, or whatever excuse that we used to give. I lost it, my sister ripped it up. Whatever the excuse was. So whenever you hear the word aval, you know that a person is trying to escape. So I had a big question. I looked in the Siddur, and I see that in the Anna that we make, we say, Anna Adonai Elohenu v'le abotenu, tabo lefanecha tefilatenu, she'en anachu hazefanim. God, we're not brazen people. We're not going to come and say tzaddikim anach. We're not tzaddikim. Velo hatar. We're not going to say we didn't sin. Aval. However, Now, I wouldn't have put that word in the vidui. I would have said, hatanu, avinu, but aval sounds like we're trying to get out of it. But we're trying to rationalize it. To me, the worst word you could put in the vidui is aval. But it's there. So I did an experiment. I went into the Tanakh to look for this word, aval, to see if it has another meaning. I found it. Listen to a story. You remember the brothers sold Yosef? So they had a bet din, 9 rabbis, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, all the Shevatim. They sat down and they said, Yosef is guilty. He's wrong. He deserves to be punished. They said, let's take a vote. They all raised their hands, unanimous. They had the gavel. They bang on the teva, guilty. They write on the paper, Yosef Hayav. They take Yosef, they throw him into a pit of snakes and scorpions. Eventually, they sell him. After they sold him, they were so proud of what they did, because they thought it was the right thing. They sat down and had a seudah, the Hayim. What are you celebrating? We got rid of a bad man. Anytime you get rid of evil, it's a good thing. So they made Seudat Mitzvah. They were so confident that they were right. Now I want to ask you a question. Did the Shevatim have Yom Kippur? They did. They kept the whole Torah. So that means every Yom Kippur, like us, they came and they started to analyze their ways. And they said, did we make any averot this year? No. Did we make any averot in our life? For 22 years, Yom Kippur came and went, and they felt what they did with Yosef was right. Imagine that they lived for 22 years thinking that that crime that they committed was justified. Now they go down to Egypt to get food. They don't know that Yosef is the king. Now all of a sudden things are going difficult. All of a sudden the king says, you're spies, benagirim atem. They take Shimon, they put him in jail. Now all of a sudden they realize, the king says, you have another brother, don't you? Bring that brother down over here. Otherwise, you have a lot of problems. They say, please, we can't bring him. Our father will not let. He's a young boy. Bring him down. Now the brothers start to say, why is this happening to us? The tzaddikim, when bad things happen, they start to say, what did we do wrong? People come to me all day long. Hacham, I lost money in the stock market. Bar minan, somebody's sick. Lo alenu, I'm having a problem like this. Maybe I'm making certain averot. Could you help me? When things go wrong in a person's life, they try to correct something. So when the brothers saw this bad luck, why is this happening? You know what they said? Vayomeru ish el ahiv. They turned to each other and they made the following declaration. Aval ashemim anachnu. Aval, we are guilty for selling our brother. That's why this is happening to us. 22 years later, they finally came to the reality that they made a mistake. Over there, if you look at the word aval, look at the Targum. Targum explains aval bekushta. You know what bekushta means? Be'emet. In English we say indeed, which means they were saying aval, not but. Aval means yes indeed, we are wrong. That's the real meaning of aval in the vidui. In vidui we come along and say no more excuses. There's nobody to blame. The former president of the United States was Harry S. Truman. He said the buck stops here, which means I am responsible. I must bear the brunt of my actions. I must carry the weight of my deeds. So we say in the vidui, I am not going to stand in front of you, God, and say, Lo hatanu, aval, but yes indeed, hatanu, aval, yes indeed, rashanu. God says, I love what I'm hearing. Cain blamed me, Adam blamed his wife, Shaul didn't want to confess, everybody's pointing fingers at somebody else, and here the Jew comes along and says, it's me. Rabotai, I now want to go back to the mother of Sisera. I'm not a psychologist, but I have a good idea of what the mother of Sisera was doing by that window on that day. She knew that her son had come back from 100 wars, and he always came back at the same time. He never was late. She had that custom to look out the window. She took out a crystal ball, the Eshnab. She sees woman, she sees red. And you know what the mother of Sisera started to do? She started to give excuses. He's probably here, he's probably there, he's probably drinking, he's probably with the Jewish woman, he's probably splitting the spoils. You know why she was giving excuses? Because she didn't want to come to the reality that her son was dead. She couldn't come to the truth. So when a person doesn't want to come to the truth and the reality, you start pointing. The mother of Sisera is a classic example of somebody that's in denial. Somebody that it's too painful to come to the truth. If she was honest when she looked in the crystal ball and she saw red, what's the first thing when you see red, what do you think of? Blood. She should have said, that's the blood of my son. Somebody must have murdered him. But her denial caused her to think, oh, it's red clothes. He's probably taking red clothes and scarves. When he saw the two women, he should have said, wait, there's two Jewish women, Devorah and Yael. Instead, he says, no, he's probably pillaging Jewish women. All the signs she read wrong. The mother of Sisera is the classic example of somebody that gives excuses and doesn't want to see the true reality. So the Torah says, you know what the purpose of the shofar is? When you hear the words of the shofar, you hear crying. Teru'ah is Yebaba. And you know what you think of when you hear the word Yebaba? Vatiyavev, you think of the mother of Sisera. And at that point you're supposed to say to yourself, no more excuses. Stop pointing fingers. The mother of Sisera is the source of shofar, because the source of the shofar is to come and tell the person, enough is enough. Own up to your actions. Hatati. But you're going to go your whole life and say, I'm a good Jew, I don't do anything wrong, I'm not different than anybody else, and you're going to transgress, and you'll never get to step 2 of Alcoholics Anonymous. You won't even make it to the rehab. They won't even let you in. So the Torah comes along and says, to understand that shofar, this year when you hear the shofar, when you hear that crying sound, picture the mother of Sisera giving excuses by the window. And at that point you say to yourself, enough. I'm not a 2-year-old anymore. I'm not a baby. And the good news is when you start to confess and tell the truth, Aval Ashimim Anachnu, Borei Olam says no problem. The truth will set you free. But it takes a lot of courage to do that. Well, if that's the case, Rabotai, you know, this month is called Elul. Aleph Lamed, Vav Lamed. The rabbis give many hints on what this word Elul stands for. One rabbi said, Ani ledodi vedodi li. I once saw a book of a whole list of remazim of what Elul stands for. But tonight, in your honor, I'd like to say a new Hiddush, what Elul stands for. You see, if we had to summarize this class into 2 words, you know how I would summarize it? In Hebrew, there's a word, the word is lo, lamed aleph. That's how all human beings start off. No, it wasn't me. Hello, I'm good. Lo hatati. But eventually you have to get to a different word that means it is him. Yes, it is him. Him meaning you. Well, that word is spelled lamed vav. Lo. So basically, the purpose of this month is to try to move yourself from lo with an aleph, that it's not me, to lo with a vav, that it is me. Well, that's Elul. The first 2 letters of Elul is aleph lamed. That's lo. The last 2 letters of Elul is vav lamed. That's lo lamed vav. That's the key. To go from saying it's not hatati to saying yes, lo, it is I, it is me, it is him. And as I said, this takes a lot of courage. But this is the greatest escape route. And I will conclude with something that I heard from my rabbis in Yerushalayim. I heard this in 1987 from Rav Chaim Brim. He's Hasid of Yerushalayim. Zecher Tzadik Lebracha. You know, there's a famous mashal that they give about somebody that doesn't make teshuvah during these days. There's a famous mashal, I'm sure you heard it. There was 10 guys in jail. One night, 9 of them dug a hole and escaped. When the warden came in the next day, he sees one guy standing there. He says, where's everybody? They escaped. And you, how come you didn't escape? And he starts to beat him up. So God says, you had a chance to escape. How come you didn't escape? How come you didn't make the teshuvah? Rav Chaim Brim said, I don't understand the mashal. You punish the guy who didn't escape, he should get rewarded. The warden should come in and say, you're a tzaddik, you didn't escape. All your friends, they ran out of here underground. You stayed. Why does the warden beat him up? Rabotai, you know why the 9 inmates escaped? Because they know they're guilty. So they're scared from the judge. So they want to get out of there before they have to go to the judge, because they know they're wrong. You know why the 10th guy stayed? Because you know what he's saying? I didn't do anything. Lo hatati. Wasn't me. So he has no fear to stand in front of the judge. So the warden says, we have so much proof against you, and you didn't run. The fact that you didn't run, that means you're chutzpah. You're coming along standing and saying, I'm innocent. Lo hatati. For that you get punished worse. When a person in these days, well, not anybody over here because you all came to a class. So you're on the right track. I'm talking to whoever didn't show up tonight. In this month, whoever's not involved in perfecting themselves, without saying it, but they're saying it without saying it, they're saying, I'm innocent, I didn't do anything. That's why I'm not scared, that's why I'm not changing, that's why I'm not making any more mitzvot. I'm innocent, I'm not afraid of Yom Adin, because I'm going to stand in front of God and say, Lo hatati. So the warden comes along and said, I gave you Elul to escape, and you didn't escape. Everybody else was smart. They came along and they knew that problems. And therefore I say tonight, Rabotai, we must go from Lamed Aleph to Lamed Vav. From the denial of no, it is not I, to come along and say, no, it is him, the person himself. And then Be'ezrat Hashem. Once a person starts to take responsibility and he hears the shofar, and here's the mother of Sisera crying from the window, V'tiyavev, the Yebaba. And then he says, the buck stops here. No more excuses. No more pointing fingers. And then God Almighty says to all of us, Umodeh ve'ozev, the one that confesses, Yeruham. He delivers and enjoys the measure of mercy. Besar abonchem, and your sins will dissipate. V'hatatchem tekuppar. Tizku l'shanim rabot.
ya Carlito